What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Magic Square Space Shuttle with the Ocular Max Volatus, both versions of Masterpiece Scale Blastoff. I got this guy about 5 years ago during the pandemic, actually, the year of 2020. And this one just came out recently at the end of 2025, so about 5 years apart. And this has for a long time been my set, my Combaticons in my collection. And slowly but surely, these guys have been coming along and dominating in these comparisons. For the most part, I've been enjoying the individual modes. I just did the combined mode review, so you can check that out. I did have a couple of issues with the combined mode, but individual bots, they're pretty good. So I am expecting Magic Square to win. But as always mentioned with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible. But of course, there's subjectivity involved when you're judging things like this. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I try to do these comparisons so people decide what direction they want to go with their collection, including keeping both of them, which I may be doing because I do still like the vehicle modes on all of these. So I haven't decided yet, but that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. Before we do that, though, I did want to come in close on the eyes. And the Ocular Max actually gave you the head with the purple thing up here, the pink thing up there, and then the eyes unpainted. And I always wondered, you get the alternate one too. And I've totally forgot this was in the box. So I put it in here just so that I had equivalent comparison here, both of them with the cartoon accurate eyes, but it's nice that they get the option. So I just wanted to show that because people may have forgotten that you have the choice between the painted eyes or the unpainted eyes. And here are the accessories, pretty bare bones. I'm not counting the combining parts, but both come with a blaster. Similarly sculpted, the Magic Square is a lot bigger. And then we get the extra face head for Ocular Max, so Ocular Max will win on accessories. Next, we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two, and there isn't really much for gimmicks. Both have landing gear in alt mode. They both can hide or show the tail fin in alt mode if you want it or don't want it. Both have storage for the weapon, so I'm going to give them a tie on gimmicks. There's not really any difference between the two in terms of what they can do. Next, we'll take a look at the cartoon accuracy and the sculpt. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 image there so you can take a look for yourself. And when it comes to cartoon accuracy, although I thought this was pretty good at the time, Magic Square came along and they nailed the look of this guy. I mean, they really got the proportions and the sculpt overall pretty well down. I think the arms on the Ocular Max are a little wonky, as well as the legs, the way they did the ankle tilt, it's down here, it makes up breaking up the leg. Coming to the side, both pretty similar. The sculpt on the Ocular Max starts to break up when you get to the back. Inside of the legs, the rear piece here, the arms themselves are kind of messy. I think Magic Square did a lot cleaner job. They've got a panel covering the inside of the arms. Legs are also a lot cleaner. So I'm going to give cartoon accuracy and sculpt over to Magic Square. Overall, cleaner looking, and they nail that look in the cartoon a lot better. Next, we'll talk about the paint on these two. When it comes to paint, there is a little bit on the Ocular Max. You have some black paint here, a little bit of purple here on the face, a little bit of blue paint here on the arms, purple paint here. I think this is brown plastic with purple and blue paint on it. So there's a little bit of paint on the arms. The body is, I think, purple plastic. Yeah, I think this is purple plastic. Got some details down here. I think this is blue plastic with brown paint. And there's some other parts that are like that. They've got some accents, but overall, this is unpainted for the most part. The Magic Square is pretty much 100% painted all throughout. And there is a lot of different paint colorings. I did notice the Ocular Max did do the 2 shades of brown, just like the Magic Square. But I am going to give paint over to Magic Square. It's painted fully and it's done well. Next, let's talk about the build quality of these two. And when it comes to build, Ocular Max is usually really solid. They use really nice materials, nice hardware. No exception here. This is still very well made. Magic Square also, this one feels pretty good. It doesn't feel like the nylon plastic that they use in their Legends. It's a harder plastic, and because of the paint, it just feels even better. So I don't have any issues really with either of these. I've transformed these dozens of times. This one dozens of times. This one's maybe like 5 to 10 times. So no issues there. They both seem to have well-built materials. All right, next we'll go over the articulation on these two. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually. And before we get to the Magic Square, I wanted to mention, forgot to talk about the lock for the ab crunch. So we're going to undo that lock now. Go ahead and pull forward on the chest. We will separate the arms and fold this back. And right here you'll see there's a dial. And you need to turn this the other way so it's straight like this. And now this can lift up. Without that, you can't lift that up. All right, so we'll go ahead and put this back, tab this back into the other side, tab this back into the front. And now you're ready to go with the ab crunch. I didn't show that during the review, so I wanted to show it here. So starting off with the head's on a ball joint, so it gets down back to there, side to side, and then the neck it can rotate. You can see they did a cutout back here. That's smart because you get way up. I think more Masterpiece companies should do that. Even though it's a Legends thing, it gives you more articulation. Shoulder rotates around on a hinge, out to the side on a hinge, up to there on a second hinge, so it's double jointed shoulder. Rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow gets you a little past 90 just due to the cutout. Rotation at the wrist, in and out movement at the wrist. Individual articulated fingers, they do splay out. Thumb is on a ball joint and a pin. These are some of the best hands in the business as far as articulation. They're just very, very well done, very expressive. Waist on a soft ratchet can rotate. Ab crunch, which I just unlocked, gets you down to there. You do have a rear hip skirt here. You don't really need to do anything with it, but legs will kick up to there on a ratchet. It is on a drop-down hinge, so you can get it back to there using the drop-down hinge. Out to the side on a ratchet. You have a double jointed knee, gets you the full bend. Ankle tilts all the way out to there. And you can maybe get a toe tilt forward if you lift up here. All right, moving over to the Ocular Max. Head is on a ball joint, so you get back to there, down to there, side to side, rotates around. Shoulders rotate around on a friction joint, out to the side on a hinge. Only a single jointed shoulder only gets up to there. You have a rotation here at the bicep, rotation at the elbow, part of the transformation. You've got a double jointed elbow. It does get you pretty much the full bend, so one extra joint there for the Ocular Max. Rotation at the wrist, no in and out movement at the wrist. No individually articulated fingers either. They're curled also. So while they do move independently, you don't have enough hinges or joints to actually point. Thumb is on a ball joint, but no in and out movement on the wrist and no individual finger movement. A rotation at the waist, ab crunch gets you down to there. Legs, move the hip skirts out of the way. Legs will kick up to there on a ratchet. Back to there. If you move that hip skirt out of the way. Out to the side on a ratchet. Oh, that's not a ratchet, on friction. Rotation at the thigh at a cut joint. I do find the legs, especially the thighs, relatively ugly. Just due to the all-in-one gimmick, they had to do that. Single jointed knee, it doesn't even get 90 just due to the sculpt. It's pretty limited. It is actually double jointed, but even if you bend the second joint, you can't get anything out of it. You still get 90 degrees. So while there is a joint there, I'm not going to really count it because you can't do anything with it anyway. You can only get 90 degrees. Ankle tilts out to the side. It's really at the knee. It's kind of like a shin tilt. And then you get a toe tilt down. So because of the extra articulation at the shoulders, as well as the hands, the fingers themselves, and the hands, the knees, I'm going to give articulation over. Why is this giving me trouble? There we go. I'm going to give articulation over to Magic Square. I just think overall they did a better job and it's easier to manipulate, which is shocking because usually Ocular Max does a great job on articulation. All right, next we'll talk about the transformation and engineering on these two. When it comes to transformation, both of these are pretty fun and enjoyable. A little secret that I told a couple friends is when I first got this out of the box, I didn't even look at the instructions. I just went at it, started transforming it, and it is pretty intuitive. It's very fun. Now, I did go back and check the instructions just to make sure that I had everything right, but initially I transformed it to both modes without it. So yeah, definitely fun and intuitive. There's a couple things in the legs that are a little tricky, but overall it's pretty straightforward. Ocular Max, same kind of thing. They always have a great design on their transformations, typically very fun. This one in particular, the leg section is where some of the more confusing parts are, but again, still fun, straightforward. So I'm going to give them a tie on transformation. I think it both are pretty fun and straightforward. When it comes to engineering, I think I got to give it to Magic Square. It cleans up so much better. Now, I know that the Ocular Max is doing the all-in-one thing. You know, you got hands in here. But that actually leads to issues with the sculpt. And I do got to commend Magic Square for how clean they were able to get this. Even though it does turn into, you know, an arm, it really, really looks good. I think the compromise that, you know, Ocular Max had to do for the all-in-one gimmick, you know, it was just too much in terms of the engineering on this one. There's other figures that I think, you know, it works, but this one in particular did suffer from the all-in-one, so I'll give engineering over to Magic Square. All right, and there they are in their alt modes, and I'll put the G1 cartoon image there. I think the Magic Square definitely nails the look of the cartoon a little bit better. They've also got like bigger proportions. I'm surprised how much bigger the shuttle is. Just proportionally, you know, all dimensions is bigger. But I do like the look of the cockpit here on the Ocular Max. Also, the colors in general are just a darker set of colors. And it tends to look like a more realistic shuttle. I mean, neither of them are realistic, but they both have landing gear, although the Magic Square just has this on the back. That's not really wheels. It's fake wheels. Whereas the Ocular Max does have those wheels. The side was pretty good. About the same. They do have the two-tone brown, so similar there as well. Similar squared off boosters here on the bottom, and then the circular in the back on the top. So very similar. I think I'd give it just a hair. I give the sculpt of it to Ocular Max. The cartoon accuracy over here. So I'm going to give them a tie on the alt mode. I think they're both have strengths. I do prefer the look of this, but I know that this is more cartoon accurate. So we'll give them a tie. All right, next we'll talk about the cost on these two. And normally I use ages 3 and up since they don't monkey with the prices, but unfortunately they don't have these guys on their website. So I decided to do something different this time. I'm going to use the manufacturer's websites. So MagicSquareToys.com has this guy listed for $120, and Planet Steel Express, which is the Ocular Max version of their store, has this guy for 780 HK. It's sold out, of course, but 780 HK converts to $100. And then using our inflation calculator, since this figure was from 2020, that comes out to about $125 today. So they're really close, really, really close in terms of price. I'm going to give them a tie, just because inflation's in playing a factor here, and they're so close that, you know, it's pretty close. So I'll give them a tie. And the final factor here is the members' choice category, where I ask my members which one they prefer just based on their own personal preference and no other factors. And no surprise on this one, Magic Square is going to take it on the Members' Choice category. So final thoughts in the comparison, you can see the score, and Magic Square is going to take this one pretty easily. And I'm not that surprised because they've been winning these comparisons with the MMC. And it's interesting because the individual robots, the individual robot and alt modes have been pretty dang good. Like they really have nailed this set. But when it came to combined mode, I'm not sure I fell in love with the Magic Square set. Now the MMC is a whole nother story. It's, you know, all built in, so it's a smaller figure overall, the combiner. And so it doesn't really compare here in the combined mode. It's just a different beast altogether. I am planning to do a comparison of the Magic Square combined mode with the Zeta toys, but I'm waiting for the Toon set before I do that because it doesn't really make sense right now without those parts to do that comparison. So I will do that eventually. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, for me, this feels like the best individual bot set available for Combaticons in the MP scale. Now, I'm planning to keep these guys just because I like the alt modes on these. So I'll probably display the alt modes with the robot modes of these guys. And maybe Zeta for combined, I don't know yet. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned eventually for the combined mode comparison. And we'll see you next time.